First of all, you are assuming that this job has to be done by the government. Second of all, you are assuming that every single part of that program was needed. Both of these assumptions are faulty. The private sector has repeatedly proven to be more efficient and cost-effective. And we saw one federal agency that brought in a private contractor to water their flowers. Musk and the so-called Doge Bros are doing good work. I am sorry, but it is liberals who cannot tell the difference between a bull and a cow. Moving on, countries around the world are dropping their tariffs, and thus Americans can sell to more people. Likewise, business owners are bringing their jobs back to the States. Employed Americans make this country better. Well, the initial assumption is once again wrong. Since he is not acting like a king, the entire premise is null and void. If he was a king, he would be wiretapping media outlets, arresting his opponents on Capitol Hill, and letting terrorists who support him and his party into the country. Since none of those are the case, this argument is null and void. It is actually a bit of projection, to be honest. I am actually not going to zoom in on this one. Each panel has the same basic problem. Democrats are so scared that they are imagining new terrors around every corner. America is safer with violent gangs being deported, more transparency in government, and jobs returning to the country. I do not understand why they are so scared. There is no evidence whatsoever that President Trump is going to deport people who demean or contradict him. 1, no person is that stupid. 2, if he did try that, there would hardly be a single journalist remaining. And although reporting fake news makes them the enemy of the people, they are not going to be deported. Maybe if cartoonists like Mr. Jones cry wolf long enough, someone will believe him. Let me break Mr. Pett's baloney down a bit. Someone who is a member of MS-13 deserves no sympathy. As for the other 3 panels, President Trump was trolling over Canada. Not that liberals can take a joke. With the Panama Canal, we gave it back to Panama under strict conditions. With Greenland, there is no reason to believe that President Trump is going to take it by force. It is a good asset, but probably not a good state. Mr. Pett just loves his baloney. So what Mr. Heller is saying is that someone who wants the rule of law is the same as a member of MS-13. A member of a dangerous gang who deserves to be locked away forever. I would like to point something out to all of you watching. The same people who say that an innocent Maryland man was deported are the same people who justified burning cities and shooting up car dealerships. And they wonder why no one takes them seriously. If these conservatives were the problem, they would have rioted after the 2020 election. However, it was liberals who rioted after the 2016 election. Conservatives also do not riot because one person killed or harmed another. Liberals do that. That is all assuming that our duly elected president, who operates under the rule of law, acts tyrannically, and he does not. Let me break Mr. Bowling's gibberish down a bit. Science, like the fact that men are men and women are women? If you cannot agree to such an obvious biological fact, I question whether you have any science background at all. Actually, the millionaires and billionaires are taxed far more than they should. And if you are using tax dollars rather than your own endowment, I would think that elected officials should have something to say. Either way, just use your endowment fund that you got from rich donors. As long as you do not support terrorists and follow all of the rules about re-entry, feel free to come back whenever you want. I have never understood why they think President Trump would stand with National Socialists. Because he does not, and judges people based on their merit rather than melanin. Something that the National Socialist Party, and Democrats for that matter, do not do. Mr. Bowling just loves his gibberish. I would like to point out, Your Honor, that multiple judges already agreed that Garcia was a member of MS-13, that he beat his wife, was in the country illegally, and had several lawful deportation orders. But from what I can tell, none of those orders were ever enforced. In truth, the greatest threat to America is activist judges, and those who will not enforce the rule of law. You honestly expect me to believe that these two are going to call a Jew anti-Semitic, and that he is ripe for deportation in his own country? This is why I question whether some liberals think, as long as they come here legally, no one has a problem. And there are some countries that are just horrible. Not necessarily the people, but the government, yes. I would put Britain on the list for arresting people for posting on social media. I would put Cuba on there because they still have communism. I would put a lot of African countries on the list because of their modern-day slavery. If the people reject these policies and value liberty, come on over. legally.